Okay, so there does not need to be an alternative, attractive currency for the US dollar to lose its reserve currency status. I've been getting a lot of questions in response to some of the videos I posted about the changing world order and the weakening US dollar, and how China as a rival economy is poised and is growing to overtake the United States as the leaders of the new world order, and for the Chinese currency, the renminbi, to be the new global reserve currency. And so I've had some feedback and some questions saying, hey, hold on a second. When we look at the renminbi compared to the US dollar, we see that sure, they're growing in market share, but they are way behind the US dollar. How can you say that the world's going to leave the US dollar as the global reserve currency in favor of the renminbi? Let me just say this. Let me reiterate what I opened with and say, in order for the global reserve currency to change to something else, we do not need to switch directly from the US dollar to the Chinese renminbi. We don't need to have a competing global reserve currency for the US dollar to lose its reserve currency status. Okay, because history has shown us, just tried and true principles, that when a reserve currency becomes unattractive to hold onto, then people don't hold it. They move their capital power from that currency into things like anything else, other investments like gold, silver, real estate, bonds, manufacturing, different things. And so what happens first is that currency loses its global reserve currency status. And so the real question is, well, is the US dollar at risk to be dropped, right? We'll just take a look at a couple of factors that impact it, right? So the federal government is printing trillions of dollars, and so already there's increased pressure of inflation. The government, so other foreign countries, they hold the US dollar. They buy up debts, right? It's their form of investment. And so the US government does this too, right? The US government holds the dollar, it holds other currencies, and it has a portfolio, a mix. And so they have advisors that help them understand, well, how much of each currency to hold. And really there's like 6 currencies that countries kind of hold, right? And it's based on, if you look back in time, it's whoever was the previous world order. So like the British pound, the euro, the Japanese yen, right? There's other currencies like that. But, as you look at that portfolio mix, you're trying to say, well, what gives me the best return? Well, the U.S. Pays practically zero interest, right, on loans on the U.S. dollar, and real interest, or like real return, is actually negative. And so it's really not a very attractive buy and hold strategy for countries at the moment. And so, there already is pressure to migrate away from holding the U.S. dollar. So yeah, there's plenty of pressure to leave behind the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. And once it loses that reserve currency status, well, then who's to say that the Chinese renminbi won't make a rapid rise, right? And so if you take a look at the renminbi, right now it holds a relatively small market share, but the economy, the Chinese economy, internally, their economy, they still are in a debt cycle where they will have their debt restructured. But as a whole, in terms of their healthy balance sheet, the stability of their currency, right? They're the first central bank to propose and start testing out a digital currency as their reserve currency, right? So it's 2021. They're saying by the Winter Olympics in Beijing next year, they will be rolling out, a digital reserve currency for the country, making it more attractive and frankly easier to transact in. And so there's factors that, although currently there's a small market share, there's nothing holding it back to have an exponential growth in terms of market share if there's nothing competing against it, right? If the US dollar continues to weaken and loses its reserve currency status. So that being said, stay tuned, because I know you're wondering, how does this impact you, and what do you need to do in order to predict and position yourself so that you aren't caught in a tight spot holding on to the dollar or dollar-backed assets. I'm going to release those. We're working on them right now. So subscribe, please. Set your alarms. And so I'm super stoked to release them, and I can't wait to share it with you.